Hey guys, Mike here. Got a new Dubsado video for you here, and it revolves payment schedules. Small feature, very helpful feature, but there's a very interesting quirk associated with them that a buddy of mine ran into, that I've been running into in the past, that want to help get this out now to the interwebs so that everybody understands what's going on and can make a educated decision and not run into this error and let their automated CRM workflow do the automated thing, right? Okay, so let's first look at payment schedules. Okay, payment schedules are these fun things right here. And what they are is basically you saying for this type of job, whether for me I'm a photographer, so mini sessions, commercial photography, event photography, headshots, weddings, portraits, all that good stuff. I have a set time period or instances where I expect my clients to pay for my photographic services, right? Typically they are, once someone signs the contract, the down payment's due, and then the following payments are due sometime before the final gallery is delivered, okay? Now, the beauty of payment schedules, like I said, is that you can integrate them with your workflows such that they automatically remind your client, hey, you need to pay me, which is great because it's one less thing you have to worry about, and it handles the the late payment reminders and all that. So it's really handy. And what's also really nice about it is that in your workflow, you can build action steps based off of these scheduled payments. Okay? So I can actually say, hey, Dubsado, do X step, like send an email or send a form only after this scheduled payment is complete. Now, for me, I do it only based on the lead capture process, which is when I have the contract signed and my clients pay a down payment. So for me, especially in wedding photography, the contract isn't valid unless the down payment is also submitted with the signatures. So I, basically have a hold step in most of my workflows to say, hey, don't send any emails, or conversely, what I actually do is say, hey, once the scheduled payment is made, which is the deposit in my case, move it over to this next job status, which makes them an official job, and we can actually hey, you're now my client, let's work together, because all the due diligence is done with proposal, contract, and invoice, right? So that's all makes sense, I hope, but there's still this one little quirk that happens, because what we found out was that there are two places you can put a payment schedule. Okay, number one is in a workflow itself. So for me, they usually for instance, like my wedding lead captures. Okay, workflow, payment schedule goes here, right? And you can see I've got change project status immediately after scheduled payment completed. Okay, and in this case, scheduled payment 1 day after contract signed. Fantastic. And it says TBD because the contract hasn't been signed yet, so it doesn't know that relative date. But again, it's TBD because it's relative. So you can put your payment schedule there, and the other place you can put it is in your proposal. So if you look at my wedding photography proposal, then we go into settings, you can see, will this invoice have a payment schedule? And normally you go, duh, yeah, it will, and you just say weddings. Duh, goes right there. Makes sense, right? Everything jives. Wrong, as we found out. So I'm going to click out of that because I'll explain why. So we're not going to save that because I don't want to accidentally mess it up. Go back to payment schedules, just go away. Yes, I want unsaved data. Okay, so this is where things get kind of screwy, so I'm going to actually pull up a keynote presentation to help show this graphically so it helps you guys follow where things get squirrely. Okay, so real quick, we'll do this. Ta-da! Okay. I really hope this is recording here. We'll find out. Okay, so Dubsado Payment Schedule Fubar. For those of you who do not know what Fubar stands for, it is fouled up beyond all repair. Except typically I don't say fouled, I use the other F word. Anyways, we're going to use, again, this graphical thing to help understand or help me demonstrate why this thing's quirky, okay? So in this instance, Up top, we've got our payment schedule, which is 25% due, 0 hours after the contract is signed, which is basically your down payment. And then the second payment schedule is 75% of the balance is due 15 days before the job start date. Okay, whatever that is, just that's what we're running with. Okay, and these blue boxes are basically your workflow, right? So your client completes the lead capture form, you have lots of emails, client receives and completes a proposal, client signs a contract, Dubsado sends an invoice to the client completes payment schedule number 1. We're assuming they're only doing number 1 and they're not just doing the whole balance right there, which would be great if they didn't, but we're just saying schedule number 1. And then you have a workflow action that says send an email 5 minutes after that scheduled payment is complete. And in this instance, our scheduled payment is the first one, 25% due 0 hours after the contract signed. Great. Okay, cool. So again, graphically, we're going to show you've got your workflow payment schedule and the proposal payment schedule. It's the same payment schedule. It just exists in 2 places. Okay. So you're going to go through your entire workflow process, right? The green arrows are representing the payment schedule for each, the workflow and the proposal. Okay. But things get screwy at this last step, which is scheduled payment, perform an action based on this scheduled payment. Okay. We get a big error. Okay. It's really weird. Okay. And this is kind of what it looks like. So this is a screenshot that my friend sent me from when she got the error and one she was talking to me about. And you'll notice these down here, the last 2 workflow steps, where it says send email, retainer received, engagement shoot set up immediately after scheduled payment completed. And then start a workflow, wedding workflow, after the scheduled payment completed. They're both the same scheduled payment, okay, which is just the number 1 payment, which is contract signed, send 25% down payment request, okay? And what it's saying here as an error code is cannot find payment schedule for scheduled payment, which means it can't find the scheduled payment, which makes no sense because at this point in the workflow, you have a payment schedule, right? Because it's in the workflow and it's in the proposal. So why is there no payment schedule? That doesn't make any sense, right? And they should be the same. Here's the trick. We're assuming that your payment schedule is the same for both your workflow and your proposal when they're applied, and it's just Dubsado references them both simultaneously. But that's not actually what happens. Okay, so what's going to happen first is when the client completes the lead capture form, it starts your workflow, which has this payment schedule built into it. So we're starting with the workflow payment schedule, okay? And then we're going to go through, the activities, and then we get to the client receiving and completing the proposal, which now they have just completed a proposal, which now introduces the proposal's payment schedule, okay? So now at this point, we have 2 payment schedules existing simultaneously, okay? Before the proposal is touched by the client, there's only 1 payment schedule. That's the workflow payment schedule, okay? Hopefully you're following me here. So now we've got 2 payment schedules working simultaneously, and we're going to keep on going through the process. So now we get to the part where the client has to complete the first payment schedule, okay? What Dubsado does is it takes the second payment schedule applied, which in this case is the proposal payment schedule, and asks the client to pay that one. Okay? So what ends up happening is when we get to the workflow step that says scheduled payment, the workflow is going, what payment? Nothing was made, but technically they did because they paid a down payment, right? They did, but what happened was they paid the payment schedule that was with the proposal, and they did not pay the payment schedule that was associated with the workflow. So when you finally get to this step, Dubsado goes, hey, I've got 2 payment schedules here. Which one do you want to work with? Because one's functioning and one's not, and it can't say that one is overriding the other. Okay, does that make sense? What's happening is your workflow still wants to reference the workflow payment schedule, but the client is working off of the proposal payment schedule. Okay? So they're not lining up. They're not talking to each other. So that's how you get this error. Okay? That's why Dubsado is throwing up that error from that previous slide, that cannot find schedule thing. Okay? It's because we've got two separate payment schedules competing for the same workflow step. So what's our solution? It's really simple. Use one, don't use both. Okay? Very easy. But now the question comes up, which one do I use? Is one better than the other? What happens? So again, we're going to walk through this. Option 1, workflow has a payment schedule. Option 2, proposal has a payment schedule. Basically the exact same workflow that we showed up previously graphically. I just made them simpler. So lead completes the proposal, lead completes the contract, lead makes the deposit payment, schedule payment 1, and then workflow step do something after schedule payment completed. As far as the workflow is concerned, it's the exact same thing, right? Oh, wait. But what if you meet with the client and skip the proposal and go straight to the contract? You just build the invoice custom. If you don't have the payment schedule in the workflow, it's not going to do any of the actions. There's no payment schedule built in, right? Whereas, because if you have it only in the proposal, it doesn't exist in the workflow, right? So again, it doesn't know what to do. The other issue, I should have taken notes. I had this, no! The other part was, oh, right, yeah. So if they're working through the proposal and all that kind of stuff, you actually can't add the step of do X after schedule payment complete, because when you're building your workflow, it has to have a payment schedule associated with it to say, this is the payment schedule I want to reference. So you're kind of, in my opinion, you're kind of forced to use the workflow payment schedule, okay? Based on how I do business, how in photography and whatnot, I don't see how a payment schedule can be used just on a proposal. I guess if you're not using workflows and you're purely doing just custom everything, you're not using automated workflows, then sure, put a payment schedule in your proposal and run with that. But if you are using workflows and you're building systems that are automated and you're using steps that are built off of payment schedule dates, actions that happen after certain payments are made, put your payment schedule in the workflow. Do not put it in the proposal. Okay? I hope that makes sense. I know it's a little weird to think about in an abstract way, but basically the issue is if you have it in both places, they cross wires and Dubsado goes brrr and doesn't know which one to reference. Okay? So pick one. Just put it in one space. Do not put it in both. Okay? Me personally, again, I think putting it in the workflow makes the most sense, but everybody's business is different, so it's case by case. If you have any questions, I am more than happy to help you figure it out. Which one works better for you, all that kind of stuff. Yeah, and again, if you have other questions regarding Dubsado setup, how to work it, I've got other videos that you're more than welcome to look at. I'm happy to share information, and I also have some Dubsado setup services that I've recently started doing because I've gotten enough inquiries to help people build things that, well, this stuff takes time. So, might as well do it for something. So I'll put all those links below in the captions and comments. And yeah, so if you guys, again, need any help with Dubsado whatsoever, I'm happy to help get you squared away. Okay? Thank you so much. And again, my name is Mike Glatzer. Have a good one, guys.